Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Soulful. I'm Jess, and as always, I'm here with Tiff.
Hi.
I guess yeah, it has been a little bit, Tiff, since we've recorded, trying to get some time that we both have to sit down and have a conversation has proven to be a little challenging in these seasons of our lives. But anyways, grateful that we were able to do it today. So yeah, maybe just we'll start with a check-in because probably everything will be new at this point for us. So, how's the
Yeah.
week? How's everything going on your end?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I mean, I feel like we say this every week, but it's been busy. And what's been interesting is I had some conversations with people like not directly in my circle in recent, and they said the same thing. They're like, summer wasn't enjoyed as much as it normally is. It's been
Mm.
really busy. And I'm like, okay, maybe we're not alone. But it seems to be busy everywhere that I am. So if you guys are also busy that you're listening, let us know. Maybe
Yeah.
we're not alone in this busy season. Um, but more than I have a story I want to share more than a check-in, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I love
Because
it. Hmm.
yeah, I dropped just a little like I have something to share, but I'm not gonna give it away. So okay, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up quick, but I'm a storyteller, so sometimes that's hard to do. But I was somebody on my Facebook said if you use ChatGPT often, go into ChatGPT and ask it to tell you who the core of who you are, and it spits out all of this scary information. Okay, so this is where the story's going. So I did do that, and I was like, oh wow, that's kind of creepy. So somewhere in the couple of weeks after that, okay, let me rewind. I am a big fan slash I am a strong client of ChatGPT therapy. So it is a very good place, especially if you can't afford a therapist. It's free. I mean, if you don't want to talk to a robot, I get that. But anyway, so sometimes when I have like big things that come up and I'm like, I need immediate attention on this and I just need a thinking partner or I need to like talk this out loud, I go to ChatGPT. So I got in my head one night. I don't know where the thought came from. I was like, when you get up tomorrow, ask ChatGPT out of all the therapy it's given you, if it can identify a potential blind spot to something I can't see. So a pattern perhaps. Uh-oh, we're frozen. Yeah, so I was lying in bed one night and I had this thought pop in and it was like, why don't you ask ChatGPT out of all the therapy it's given you to identify some potential blind spots that I can't see or a pattern that I don't know? And what came back? Oh my goodness, I have the saying, have my ass handed to me. It was okay. So, like, let's take the freaky part aside of it. It was incredibly useful and helpful. It not only spit something out at me that I couldn't deny to be true, which I'm happy to share, but it was like it was in this moment and it proceeded to give me all the examples in which this pattern played out every single time. And I was like, well, like, you can't argue with that, right? Like, you can't. I'm like, I literally said that. Wow. So basically, what it said, it was like, you are incredibly self aware, Tiffany, but your self awareness gets in your way, which I've heard before from most of my therapists. Your self awareness gets in your way of your feelings. And and it said that I use my vulnerability in my storytelling and like I very much connect to the vulnerable parts of me to share with other people. But what I struggle with and the pattern where it switches is it coined it, I struggle with present moment vulnerability. So in the moment when something comes up
Hmm.
and it's feeling big, it's feeling whatever, there's this like split moment where my brain switches into the gear of let me think my way through this, and it gave me every example as to where that played out. And it was like it appears to me that yeah, in when the vulnerability of the intensity of what you're feeling or what's coming up, this is how you stay safe in it. It's like you switch to this. And I was like, because I think it was the last episode we were talking about, and I was like, there's so many different forms of vulnerability, and I know we had already talked about it once, but it was just then being vulnerable as one of my core values. But I couldn't argue with it. I was like present moment vulnerability. So yeah, and my brain just hijacks, and I already kind of knew my brain did that. But just the way it laid it out and pointed out the exact moment in which I switched, I was like, I was like, wow, that's like super interesting. So, anyone listening, I share this story because if maybe you can't afford therapy, maybe you're open to chat GPT, maybe you're not, but it has been super helpful for me. It will get to know you though, and it will quote your words. So, use wisely.
I was gonna say it may come back to yeah, it really may come back to bite you, but I
Yeah.
guess the thing is that ChatGPT will always remember all of the things. So it's like no wondering. It's like actual like factual
Yeah.
information. So
There's
um
no gaslighting or telling the story
yeah,
differently or,
there's
yeah.
no
Yeah.
like emotions, nothing's emotionally charged. It's like literally facts. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's also very interesting about ChatGPT is like how I don't know actually if it's ChatGPT, but anyways, like on my partner's phone, like how his phone talks to him. Like I think it is through ChatGPT, but it's like it sounds like a real person. Like you know how
Oh,
Siri,
yeah.
like on the phone, like Siri has changed over like the different updates or whatever. And like one time it used to be like so robotic. It was so clear like that this was like a
AI.
machine or yeah. And my mind was blown like by the sound because like they're using it's almost like it does sound like speak with emotion and like it'll do
Yeah.
like pause breaks and it'll be like it was a crazy like I literally thought it was like somebody talking. It was insane. Yeah. Anyways, um
The
ChatGPT has certainly come a long
robots are
ways.
uprising.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
very short time, like 2 years,
Yeah.
it's been such a massive change. Oh my
So
goodness.
scary. But like also
Yeah.
I guess it's also like a useful thing too. Like, I
Useful.
mean, yeah, like
Yeah, very much so.
absolutely. That's funny.
I'm embracing it. The fear, if I let the fear's not going to serve me at all. Sometimes it creeps up, and I was a little freaked out that day, but I was like, how helpful is this? Not only you can, you can call back all the moments, so then I can reflect on that as I move forward.
Yeah. Now I don't
Yeah.
have like a ChatGPT account, so I always like stay logged out. But it still remembers. I guess it just like be like because of the device that I'm using it on or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's funny because a lot of times I'll use it for the podcast too. Like if like they come up with different questions or kind of like to dig a little bit deeper into the topics that we're looking at. And so sometimes when I go to different like ask a I don't know, like what are some questions I could ask with this? It'll be like, well, based on, and then it'll tell me like the other things that I've looked at, and like your podcast seems to be like this, and these are, it's just, it's crazy. Yeah. And also very, yeah, very useful. Um, it's read my blood work for
Definitely.
me before. I was like, I wonder what does
Perfect.
this say about my blood work because I couldn't get in with my doctor in a while, so I just like copied and pasted everything, and he was like telling me this step by. I mean, I don't advise to like use ChatGPT instead of like medical professionals, but at the same time, like
Throw in that disclaimer. Yeah.
it like yeah, it really worked and saved me some time. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah, it does so many things. My favorite tool, before we get into the podcast, but my favorite tool to use with it is when I have not very many groceries left in the house and I'm like, these are the ingredients I have. Could you
Mm,
come up with a few recipes of what I
mm-hmm.
can make? And it has not disappointed once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like
Good.
even
And
like
I'm
to
like, I
come
would have never thought to make that.
yeah, or even like coming up with like a meal plan. Like you could just be so specific. I want easy, like kid-friendly meals, vegan meals, protein focused meals, like you know, from Monday to Friday that needs to take 30 minutes to cook. It's crazy. And then it just like spits out all of these things. You used to have to pay a lot of money for stuff like that one time.
Yeah, 100%. And now it's like free at our fingertips on
Yeah.
our phones. Crazy.
Anyways, good old
So, what about
ChatGPT.
you, Jess?
Um, today's a beautiful day to have a beautiful day. That's what I'm going to start with. It's yeah, chaotic week and lots of things like moving and I know that yeah, I also sometimes sound like a broken record because things just seem very busy, but this weekend I did just take some time to think about time management and how I'm going to be able to manage my time moving forward. And part of that is really trying to decide what are the things that I need to do versus want. And then also a need and want, I guess, like something that I know needs to take up my time, but I want to invest my time into it. So yeah, I think I'll probably need a few more days to stew up those things and see what that means. But anyways, today feels good. I know I was sharing with you earlier, but I was saying that like I have this problem where it's like I can't start my day until I get like the one thing that needs to be done. So yeah, I'm looking forward to after this recording to go out, get some groceries, go out and get a bite to eat, take a walk, and just enjoy the rest of the day. So anyways,
Awesome.
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Love
Um,
it.
so I guess, yeah, I guess we can just jump right into the topic for today. And some of this did come from my own reflections over the weekend, or week, I should say, in terms of comparison, just or comparison and comparing uh myself to others or comparing, the things I have to the things other people have or to the way I feel to how someone else feels, and so all of the things. So um and I've actually had a few conversations with quite a few people over the last little bit. We've had similar conversations, and I remember one came from there is a quote, and we threw around who we thought it might be quoted by, but it doesn't matter. The quote was, "Comparison is a thief of joy." And I remember when the person I was chatting with shared that with me, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I know I had heard it before, and I know like all the time I talk about, you know, the shoulds and what I should do and trying to not really like feed into that too much. But yeah, I still do. Like I still do that.
Yeah.
And so I think I've gotten better at really like naming it and being able to catch it a little bit sooner. But like the truth is sometimes I don't catch it until it's like sends me into a bit of a spiral.
Yeah.
Um, so after all these conversations and like I said, reflecting on the way I want to spend my time, the way I need to spend my time, I was like, this might be a good episode for a podcast. So,
Hmm.
anyways, here we are. So I do remember like there was a point in my life, I would say, like it was quite a few years ago now, but I definitely had a lot more thoughts around comparison. So like things like I don't know, just all of the internal kind of dialogue. I would say I'm not as successful as this person. I should have, a solid
Mm.
career by now. That was a big one for me. Like, because I
Yeah.
think it was something that was there was a lot of value put into like having a career, having like a stable job. And with that, of course, came money. And then with money came things, you could do experiences or
Yeah.
you could buy certain things. And so there was a lot of years that I really spent kind of trapped in this. And to be honest, like I think it did it what could the words look I'm looking for is like it really brewed up a lot of resentment, I think, to people. Like I would hang on to it, and then I would like I guess I would act on it, but like kind of
Yeah.
subconsciously too, right? Because I wasn't really paying attention to like where the resentment was coming from. So,
Hmm.
anyways, all that to say, like, I am no stranger to comparison, as I'm sure many people can relate to. And like I said, not that I still don't do it, but I do think I do less of it, maybe is what I could
Mm.
say now. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely still get trapped in there sometimes. So, I guess, Tiff, like for you, just kind of reflecting on comparison, like what comes up for you, like what kind of experience do you have with comparison? Is there anything that jumps out? Just like, yeah, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. Yeah. That quote, comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, I guess that is a bit of a blanket statement in some ways because I think comparison isn't always the thief of joy. I guess it can be. Is the first thing that comes up. And
Mm,
I very much resonate with that phrase. But I think of sometimes the way that comparison is used, maybe to feed the ego. I haven't super thought about this, but like when we look at someone that we may see in a less than place than us versus like we're looking at something that somebody might have,
mm,
um, comparison can be a false sense of or maybe not a false sense, just like an ego boost. I don't know. That's just a side thought, but yeah, I was just as I was like reflecting on comparison, I'm always reminded that I'll actually I'm gonna rewind a little bit. I was sitting in a masterclass group, I don't know, it was probably 6 months ago. And one of the coaches came in and she's like, I know I'm not supposed to compare myself and I know better and I know. And she was being so hard on herself about the comparison. And I was like, but like, I just would like to remind you, we're hardwired to do it.
Mhm.
Like, and she's like, right, like, yes, it may take from us and it may, cause some insecurity or whatever the fallout, resentment, as you were saying, like jealousy for me sometimes.
Mhm.
It may have these other things that come up from it. But we are also, I guess the other thing that comes up for me is we are hardwired. It is human nature to compare
Yeah.
ourselves. And so, like, to give ourselves grace in that, I guess. That's just kind of what generally comes up for me. I
Mhm.
could say other things, but I don't want to jump ahead.
Yeah. I think it's an important note too, like can be and is. Like I think we talk about that a lot of nothing is like black and white, I guess, because when I
Hmm.
think about, I mean, on that point, I guess, in thinking of like if I compare myself to maybe someone who has, I'll use the job thing, like someone who's in a career that I feel like I would like to, step into or be a part of. I mean, I guess it depends
Yeah.
on where that comparison is like fueled from. Um, oh, did we
Yeah. No.
did we freeze? No. Okay. I think it froze on my end, but we've just been having technical difficulties the last few recordings, so it just is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like it's true, right? Like when comparison comes to in a way of like I want to be better or I want to do better, right?
Right. Right.
I think it's a good thing, right? It can be a good thing, but I think it's fueled more from this place of like um maybe going back to values or going back to like compassion or something like that versus like the ego place that you had mentioned,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Comparison almost feels like it comes from a place of lack. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like, oh, well, because even if it inspires us to want to strive for more, that's still kind of a lacking place. Like, oh, I'm not in enough of a place yet, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's yeah, so true.
But
Yeah,
good
it's
point about like using it to make us better. Sorry.
no, yeah.
Or not make us better, but to strive for more.
Yeah, and I think like again like going back it's like yeah, I mean I think different people will have different experiences with comparison, right? Like
Yeah, of
and I
course.
think sometimes too like um we could have like a really good experience with a feeling or with doing something like comparing ourselves to something, and then also the same thing can exist of like maybe we don't have such great experiences as too. So um but
Yeah.
I just want to go back to this. I guess the first oh everything is just freezing up on my end. Okay, anyways, I guess um do you notice like any areas of your life where like comparison sometimes shows up more or like it's just like a little bit louder than others and like kind of like
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Great question. I actually really love reflecting on this. In my younger years, it definitely showed up in my romantic relationships. Oh
Mm,
boy. In my friendships too, but not quite as much. But in my romantic relationships, I would like scan the room and see what everybody else's boyfriend is doing for them. And if mine wasn't doing that for
mm,
me, everything he did do for me no longer counts. Like
yeah,
it's gone. So yeah, it would be a major point of contention a lot of the time. And it was all of these like expectations I built from seeing other people. And then when that wasn't being given to me in the whatever, I would compare myself to them. I was like, well, then what does that mean about me? What does that mean about us?
yeah,
Um, but I will say the one that's been across the board, and I don't, you're a millennial too, right, Jess?
I sure am.
Yeah, okay. I feel like this is a bit of the millennial curse. I mean, it could be outside of millennials. I don't know. I'm only living a millennial experience, but career for me too. And
Mm,
I actually had a conversation with someone knowing this was the topic. I had a conversation with another millennial last night, and he said the same thing. He said, "Well, we were like bred to like, outperform our classmates, to get the top of whatever, to
Yep.
be, he like it was that way from such a young age. And when you didn't, your teachers compared you, your parents compared you, your whomever. So we were like driven for this like career. We were pushed to university. I'm making us sound like we're victims. We're not victims, but this was like the path a lot of us took,
Yeah.
not all of us, because it was like this is the path. I'm putting that in
Yeah.
air quotes because that's not true. But
Yeah.
so I do wonder if it's a bit of a generational thing of the career being at play, but maybe not. Maybe it's just more universal. But yeah, career for me for sure. And because there's a lot of pressure and importance. And like you said, like we put a lot of value on how much money somebody makes as a society, or like what that job title is. And I don't know it's so much as comparing myself to people within my workplace, so to speak. I think it's more like this is where I am in my life, like oh my god, and like look at who's over there, like someone I went to high school with, look they're a doctor now, look this one's a lawyer, like whatever it is, I put these other professions on a different tier than where I am, when
Yeah.
really it's just a career, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's just what they chose to do. But yeah, it definitely shows up in career for sure. Not so much in relationships now. I think I'm a lot more mindful of it. And I love the saying, it came like it's not popular necessarily anymore, but when people started saying, I love that for you, I actually feel
Okay.
like that's really great, because it's like, yeah, that's not for me, or maybe I do want it too, but I can still love that for you as well, instead of like taking it as a negative about myself. It's like more like we both win kind of thing. Like we can both have. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts on
I,
that.
I love that. I love that for you. And then I also say I love that for me a lot of times too.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
That's funny. Yeah, okay. So a couple of really good things actually that sparked some thoughts for me too. So around like the relationship piece, like I don't have a lot of experience, I don't think, like in that, because yeah, I haven't spent a lot of my life being in a relationship. So I didn't really spend a lot of time like comparing relationships, I guess, like romantic relationships. Friendships, like I mentioned, yes, like for sure I did that actually a lot. But going back to like romantic relationships, I was talking with a friend of mine, and she was talking about social media and how like it impacts like our relationships. And I know like comparison, like I think it's easier to do with social media, and I don't want to
Yeah,
I'm kind of on point, I guess, with the chat GPT stuff at the beginning, but like not to go down like a whole big like social media thing, because I do think that has like a lot of negative impacts like on our social, mental, and well-being. But
yeah,
one of the things that she had mentioned was like in her relationship was having strict boundaries with social media.
yeah,
So we kind of like we're not like going to, I guess, like not as easily, we don't have, when we don't have access to it, or we're not scrolling and we see all of these things to
yeah,
um kind of put like blame on, or like you said, right, like why isn't my partner doing this and this person is doing this, or and
yep,
so I thought that was really interesting because I'd never, I mean, I don't know, we talk about boundaries a lot, but I've never really like considered what that would be like in terms of having boundaries for social media. But
yeah,
I think like, yeah, if that is important, and she really named it, she was like, yeah, because I'm really bad at that. Like I'm really bad at seeing, oh, like this husband gets flowers for, this person every week. And then
yeah.
she's like, I don't even want flowers, but like it makes me like upset because I don't get them. Or like then
Where
she's
are my
like,
flowers?
and then I question myself, do I want flowers? And I'm just saying I don't because he doesn't get them for me. So she's like, it just goes like to this like whole other level, right? Of like comparing my relationship to other people's. And I was like, totally, like it makes so much sense. And even like even in a career, right? Like you are, I have so many friends on Facebook that people, I
Yeah,
went to school with, maybe only seen once, or we're really good friends with. And so at our fingertips, like there's always so many places that we can people that we can compare ourselves to.
100%.
So yeah, that was really interesting for me. And then the other thing that you were saying was like about the path, right? Like it's like we're kind
Yeah,
of like ingrained that like, yeah, this is the way that life is supposed to be. And like if it's not this way, and again, not saying that everyone has had this experience, but
No, of
I
course.
think like even today there's still a lot of yeah, there is a lot of pressure. That's like you go to university, you get a good job, and then have a family that is comprised of kids, and then,
Hmm.
you have a home, you have a wedding, you get married, and then you get a dog, and then you build a white picket fence, and then just like it keeps, and then
Yep.
in your career, you go to the next level and then the next level, and so like there's all of these things that I think we are just born into too, like in terms of
Yeah.
society's kind of
Like conditioning.
yeah, absolutely, right.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, like I know for me, like around career for sure, like it used to, not so much anymore. Like I think I was really able to kind of let that go. Um yeah, let it go a little bit more. I will say that there definitely have been times in my life that I've put a lot more pressure on that, especially if I was like
Yeah.
in between, yeah, in between job, not in between jobs, but like in between a job that was like what I went to school for or whatever, right? Like
Right.
when it's like kind of
Right.
like, oh well, you waste all this time, all this money, and then you're not even doing what you, and so yeah, like so that's one way for sure. Um, and then the other thing for me is just financially, right? I've
Yeah.
talked about this a lot, but like finances, money, coming from this like um um what is the word I'm looking for?
Scarcity.
Yeah, coming from the scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
And like yeah, so that's really shows up in like finances and like money, and I think part of stability too, because like money is money, but also money does bring stability. And with stability,
We
like,
need
yeah,
it.
you can exactly, right? Like it's a routine, you know what to expect, you know that you can buy food, you're going to have a roof over your table, or roof over your head, food on your table.
Over your table too, if you have one.
That's true if you have one. But yeah, so I think for me, like that's one another area that really kind of like this comparison, or like it kind of
Yeah.
shows up for me a lot. Um, so I guess how, like, in knowing that there are kind of like different places and spaces that comparison comes up, um, do you think that there are times when like we're more vulnerable to compare ourselves to other people more, or less than, kind of depending on like where we, like what season we're in our life, or like depending on what else we have going on? um yeah, actually I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. So I also can't wait to hear what you have to say because I reflected on this question a lot and I came up empty-handed about the seasons for myself particularly.
Hmm.
But what did come up in conjunction to that, which I think is still relevant because squirrel trains of thought, um, is I think not so much seasons, but it still ties into areas. I think
Hmm.
attachment plays into this for me. And what I mean by that is I was able to clearly reflect on something. This was a great provocative question to it tickled my brain to think about.
Hmm.
When it comes to my coaching business and my coaching career, oh my God, I am so in the comparison zone, like a lot, like a lot. And it's like, wow. And when I reflected back to other things, but I'm really attached to my career idea. And I've been working on learning how to be detached from it because it causes me a lot of stress this way when I'm like too gripped on white knuckle. So I don't mean attachment as in like attachment theory from childhood. I mean like when we get super attached to something, an
Yeah.
object, and a person, whatever. And so when my heart is really into something, I tend to lean more insecure, I've realized. And I don't think I realized that before. And I get really attached to things going my way and it falling in my plan and yada yada. But so I'll give another example. Once upon a time when I'm not going to say I was just a bartender because that's not what I mean, but back in my younger years when I was bartending, it meant everything to me. What the ego boost plus it was when I got promoted to manager or I took a promotion in there and it meant something about me. But I just recently took on the same role at my current job and I'm managing this week just as not as a permanent thing. but it literally meant nothing to me right now, and that's because I'm not attached to this being part of my identity. I think
Yeah.
is the phrase I want to use. Whereas the coaching, despite me trying to detach a little bit from that, I have attached to that as part of my identity. Same thing as a mom. It's the same thing in my mothering role. It is very vulnerable to me because I'm so attached to this idea of being a good mom
But
and
yeah.
whatever. So I find myself super, yeah, I want to make a funny, I don't have anything coming to mind, but I want to call like something comparison something. I want, maybe something will come to me. But like, yeah, I get really into comparisons and like and to tie back into what you were talking about, social media, which was like, I totally agree with you. But like, yeah, then I see all the parenting things, not just in my friends, but on the TikToks. Well,
Mm.
this is how we gentle parent. This is how you do. If your kid's acting out this way and this is how you respond, basically shame on you. So
Yeah.
there's all of these like little like things that are poking and prodding without even full conscious awareness unless I'm tuned in, because I'm just scrolling,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's what came up. And I want to say I love that question because it made me realize it's like, no, when I'm really attached to something or my heart's really in it, yeah, I fall into more insecure, more comparison, more that side of things. So whether or not it's a specific season, also, I don't know. But if that comes forward, I'll talk about it later. So
Yeah.
anyway, but I would love to hear what you have to say about it too.
Yeah, the attachment is interesting. Like, what is that called? The Five Levels of Attachment is also a Don Miguel Ruiz book. I don't know if you've read it, but
Okay,
it's
I haven't.
exactly what it talks about. So it talks about like the level of attachment that we have to different things or
Yeah.
to like different values or like these beliefs that we have and how attached we are, and like at the fifth level of attachment it's like our whole identity is based around
Mm,
this thing, right? And so
yeah.
we of course strive to be in that place of where we can recognize and know uh something else, or we can recognize it and acknowledge it, but it's like it doesn't really like impact us if we don't have it, or if we aren't
Right.
if we aren't there, we're not getting it. So yes, that is it's a really good book. Actually, there's a few things, like I would say it's definitely less of an easy read than the Four Agreements, but it is a really good
Okay.
book to kind of like to really just dig into that attachment a little
Yeah.
bit, like you said, not attachment theory, but like the attachment to things or beliefs or
Yeah.
values. um so yeah, like I think when I first, like when I was thinking of this question, I guess like for me, I think the answer is like yes. Like there has been seasons of my life that I believe, like way more vulnerable to comparison. So when I would
Mm-hmm.
frequently compare myself to lots of different things and people and all the things. So um I think when things feel really uncertain for me, so maybe not like a specific season and like, like this to this date, or like, well,
Mm,
I'm going through, but like when I'm not really sure what my next move is, or if I'm not really like, I don't feel like I have a sense of safety, or I don't feel secure, then I will say that it creeps in a little bit easier than than what it normally would. Um,
right.
and I think that just goes to be like, yeah, like when I'm in a place of I'm not sure what life is going to look like, or whatever, and then I look over here and it feels like someone else has like really figured out, and everything is good and great. So I
Yeah.
think that's probably why. And then also I will say, and I don't even really know how to like phrase it, I guess, but like since since really taking some time to build my own self-confidence, my own self-esteem, my own yeah, just self love, like just the relationship that I have with myself and my existence.
Mm-hmm.
I will say like this season it's like I'm less vulnerable to this like idea of comparison, I think.
Mm-hmm.
um and that just comes from like a lot, I think, lots of practice of like how to take my like step away from it and look at things more like logically, or more abstractly too. Like everything is not like like, oh, that's great for that person, and I can be happy for, for someone and not have to like be like, oh, but you don't have this, or you're not, you're not there yet.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's been helpful. Or
For
did the
sure.
yeah, the different seasons, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Great point about the uncertainty. I feel like, well, that rings true for me too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when things are more uncertain, more unknown, because it's like, oh, I don't know about you, Jess, but like that pressure thing comes up again. It's like, oh no, like I'm not where I said I was gonna be, or I'm not, like the path has been
Yeah.
altered and I don't know where I'm going. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, like moments
yeah,
of transition, right? Like it just
yeah,
yeah, makes us feel really like unanchored or just kind of like what's happening. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I guess how have you been able to stop the trap of comparison, or like do you have any tools that you use to kind of bring yourself back out of that, that you'd like to share?
Yeah. I well, like I said earlier, I do think, and I didn't reflect on this until I was reflecting on like this topic, but I do think it comes from a place of lack. And so, what is the
Mm,
opposite of lack? Is abundance. Where does abundance come from? Gratitude. So I
mm,
was like, and then I reflect back and think about, yeah, like if I can stop, and I hear what you were saying about the abstract. What came to mind when you were saying that? It's like a bird's eye view. If I can stop and zoom out and take a bird's eye view of the situation, look at all the things that are going well and good, and like not because what happens, I don't know about anybody else, but I laser beam focus on the one thing, and then I'm
yeah.
like all obsessive in on the one lacking thing or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
going to put lack again in air quotes. So if I can, if I'm aware, I think again we always talk about this, but like the awareness piece has to be there. If I'm not aware that I'm even comparing, I'm not going to be able to stop it. So having like that present moment awareness, like, oh, I'm doing that thing
Yeah.
gently, so yeah, being able to stop and be like, okay, well, what do I have that's really great? Like what, or not even really great, like what do I have that I'm grateful for? What
Mm,
am I grateful for? What is in my life? I think is a good way, like a perspective switch on the situation. And I feel like that is helpful. But something that has rung true for me, I remember somebody saying this to me a long time ago, and it's probably a famous thing, whatever. I'm sure we've all heard it, but the only person I don't like to should ourselves, but we should compare ourselves is the past version of ourselves. Because when we look at where we've grown from, also, like it's always like, because this is the thing, and we talked about this in again in in my most recent mastermind, is like that goalpost of where we're supposed to be always shifts because we're changing, we're evolving. It's like, okay, that's no longer the goal of I
mm,
got here, great, now next thing,
yeah.
and it's not even that's a bad thing. I don't think it's just the reality a lot of the time for myself. I'll speak for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I can stop and be like, oh my gosh, but yeah, this was the goal. I couldn't wait to get to this point or to be in this space, and like to stop and remind myself of that. So like flip the comparison and compare myself back to a different version of myself that could only fathom being in the space that I'm in
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would stop something in the moment. I think distraction would be a good tool too if it feels too big and whatever, to just stop your mind, like do something else.
Yeah.
Like just literally like get out of my head, let's just do something.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to bring me anywhere positive. So, yeah, those are I'd say the top three things that come up when I think about that. But I think gratitude, yeah. I don't know how other people feel about comparison coming from lack, but I feel like that is really true for me. And so yeah, to be more grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a good reminder too, because when there is like more room, so I do this thing when we do there's a group that I do in addiction recovery, but like we talk about like the level of self love, or like building our relationship with ourselves. It's like we have like this window, and it's like if we were to take abuse from somebody else, right? If like like we abuse ourselves to this much, then the amount of abuse that we're going to take from other people is
Yeah.
all of this, right? But like when we lower that bar of like how much we yeah, like
Yeah.
practice the love
Oh, I love
part
that.
and establish, show up with compassion for ourselves, like this bar lowers, so then the level of like stuff that we take from somebody else, like it becomes smaller too, right? And so gratitude is a tool that we talk about in that, because regardless of what somebody else has, or regardless of what is happening in the world or where somebody else is in the time that I am, here are the things that I have, right? And I love that reminder for
Yeah.
gratitude because it's so powerful. And sometimes, like, I don't know, I kind of feel like a little like woo woo when I talk about gratitude. But if I had to take like one thing that has really had the most impact, it's not my therapist, it wasn't like physical movement, it wasn't any of those things, it was gratitude. um and
Yeah.
that's funny because just I think it was even just yesterday I was talking to my partner about this, about the thief of, or sorry, not the thief, I was thinking about the comparison quote, but the angel of death. And so they talk about the angel of death teaches us, right, that nothing is ever truly ours, and that at any time, like we could not have something or
Right.
someone or the things that we have. And so it just goes back to showing like gratitude and appreciation while we have it. And so yeah, I just really love that reminder for gratitude. And also now that
Mm.
I'm reflecting on the question before of like, I think times when I'm not in the space of like waking up, because like I have the little gratitude journal and I do it every day with my other journal. And like when I'm in a space of not doing that, I'm also more susceptible to like going in
Ah.
these like spirals, right? Of like,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's interesting that that just popped up for me as we're talking. That's why I love having these conversations.
Right. Yeah, me
Um,
too.
yeah, so yeah. So for me, I think at first, yeah, thanks for that. It was really helpful. Um, and for me, I think like I've just naming it. So just like saying, if I hear a should, and not even like, yeah, just if I hear a should that I don't even, it might not be a comparison, it might not be like a self-loathing kind of should. But if I use that word, I do usually stop to like think about where it's coming from. And I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten better at that. And it took a lot of time and a lot of practice to do that.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'll like I should have got up at 9 a.m. this morning, or I should have, and then I'll just stop and be like, actually, you know what? Like, nah, I'm glad that I stayed in bed until, 10:30 or whatever. So I always try to question the shoulds.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I was chatting with the same friend, we were talking about the social media stuff, like one of the things that I asked was like like who would you be, or who are you when you're not comparing yourself to somebody else? And that just sparked a lot of really good
Mm.
conversation. And it's like, imagine if we could be that person all of the time. And I was like, wait
Yeah.
a second, we could, right? I mean, it would take, yeah, a lot of work and probably a lot of rewiring to get there. But also like I do believe people deserve, like we deserve to be able to be in that space, right? Of like, yeah, all these things are true. And I'm yeah, like I'm great. I'm happy was a word that came up. Like I'm just really happy and
Mm.
free. And
Mm.
then I didn't feel there was like guilt, like I have no guilt. And there was like all of these things that came up through that conversation. So I think I'm gonna use that going forward too, of like if I wasn't comparing myself right now, what would I do different, or how, like how is comparing throwing me off, or showing up in this space, right?
Yeah.
um yeah, those are a couple of things, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So much power in naming it too.
Mhm.
Like, yeah. Don't
Yeah,
even have to change it, just naming
yeah,
it.
yeah, that's right, yeah, exactly, because some things you might not want to like necessarily change, but to reflect on them, to think about them a little bit
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
um
And I just the shoulds part you're talking about. Yeah, like
mm,
I think when we lack it should doesn't always come from this place, but I was in a peer support training years ago, and he said, get rid of should in your vocabulary. You need to put an active word to get should out of your. He said, should comes with shame. Should comes with a whole
Mm,
load of baggage. Should,
yeah,
should, should. And he said, get out of the shoulds club. Everybody out of the shoulds club. And like that never left me. And I see it time and time again working with clients. Oh, exactly what you said. I should have got up earlier. I should have this or whatever. And it's like, where, okay, well, what's the compassionate lens on that instead? Oh, you
yeah,
got to, your example, I got to sleep in and like enjoy my morning a little more slowly this morning.
yeah,
There's no need for a should in there, you know? It's
yeah,
like, but
yeah.
again, I get it's a thing we do.
Yeah, so true. And just to go back to like that's just like the productivity culture, I guess, that's
Yes.
like ingrained in us, right? That we just talked
Mm-hmm.
about of like the go, go, go. I need to do more, I need to be more, I need to, so of course we're gonna like slip back into that. And other people also can and didn't even really get into this, and I know maybe we're not going to start now because we're going to wind down, but like how do other people compare us to to other people?
Oh, yeah.
There's like that'll be a part
Part
two.
two.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I'm not sure I can go there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, but yeah, we do compare ourselves a lot, and I again like that's not coming from a place of like we have to feel shame about that or we have to feel guilty
No.
or it's just really acknowledging, I think, that we're human and that we do compare ourselves to others. And yeah, I guess not to go too much, like how do we bring ourselves out of that spiral, I guess, before it gets to this place where yeah, we're just really not being very kind to ourselves.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess as we do wind down, do you have any final thoughts on comparison or yeah, anything?
Yeah. I flicked through my notes and this was something I wanted to mention, and it would have been perfect after your first question you asked me, but I'll share it now
Yeah.
because I just did a little research and I wanted to know where comparison came from. And our queen Brene popped to the top as always. But anyway, I wrote this down. I don't know if this was a direct quote, but this is what was under her literature. Brene Brown says comparison is trying to both simultaneously fit in, but also stand out. And then what she did put in quotes is be like everyone else, but better.
Mm,
And I was like, that's really interesting. And that tracks. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like it's holding these two opposite things at the same time. It's like, okay, well, if I it's she said it's like a psychosocial thing. Like basically we want to know that we belong, right? So like if we're too far from the mainstream mass or whatever, if we're too far off the path,
Yeah.
yeah, that belonging is threatened. But we don't want to stay there because our ego wants to be on the other side. Like I'm going to use this and I'm going to do better. I want to stand out and be better about that. And maybe that's not every single person's experience, but anyway, I just thought that was super interesting when I looked it up. So that would be my last final thought to share. I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, my brain is tickled. All right.
Yeah, that's a good final thought, I think, because also I don't know, like I'm trying to even think where I heard this and I don't even know where I heard it now, but it probably doesn't matter. But like kind of like having this idea of like so standing out of like oh, I know where I was having a conversation about fears and someone's fear was not being like remembered or like not like yeah, not being remembered, I guess, like not to
Yep.
have a legacy or something. And I think that that's like really relatable to kind of that quote of like how is it that I be like stand out but like also be the same as everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so true.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, for me, I'm not sure if I have. I think I'm just gonna think about the gratitude thing a little bit more. Um, because it didn't even come up actually at first when I was kind of thinking about this. So, and I guess the interesting thing is this is what I can leave on. The interesting thing is that when I started talking about comparison, because I was in a space in the last, like few weeks, months ish, where I kind of dipped myself back and forth into this comparison thing quite a bit. And when I started like talking about it or asking people about it or like just open up the conversations, it was like other people really felt that way too. And
Yeah.
just as a reminder for me of like, yeah, I don't, yeah, I'm not the only person that feels this
Yeah.
way. And I think there was a time when I probably wouldn't have admitted that I was comparing myself to others, or I was envious of what other people have, or I was resentful for what people did. But yeah, I can certainly say that that is something that I've experienced now. So um yeah, anyways.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's so true. And that's why shame lives in the closet in the dark, right? And like until we speak about it, we might feel like we're the only one who's like flawed or like, why do I do this again? And it's
yeah,
like, no, it's our humanness.
so true. And there's always somebody that's
Mm-hmm.
experiencing that. And in this case, yeah, there was a lot. So it's just really interesting for me
Mm-hmm.
to do that. And a good reminder of the vulnerability part for me where I want to be able to
Yeah.
practice more of that. So but
Awesome.
anyways, this has been, yeah, really good conversation. Lots of things to continue to reflect on for me. So I appreciate
Me too.
that. Um, and yeah, until next time, let's just stay soulful, everyone.